Do you know the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man, the Muffin Man? Do you know the Muffin Man? He lives, I'm not sure where he lives. Welcome to Crocs in the Kitchen. I'm Jessica, and Brian is behind the camera today. But don't worry, he'll be around for the taste test because he loves this recipe. So I set out to make a cookie. But as you can see, this is a butternut pecan muffin recipe, so obviously I failed at making cookies. But when I made the cookies, Brian really liked them, and he said this might actually be really good as a muffin, and thus the recipe was born. So I'm going to show you what we're going to put into these muffins. It's actually pretty simple, and they're not too sweet. I am definitely a sweets person. Like, I love sweet, sweet, sweet. But this recipe just has like a subtlety of sweetness in the background, and it just works really, really well. And there's just such intricacy to the flavors, I feel like. I don't know. Maybe I'm just crazy. But let's start by showing you what ingredients you'll need for the recipe. So the first ingredient you're gonna need is some oat flour. Oats in a blender, and you literally just blend them, and it comes into this nice powdery oat flour, which I like to store in a mason jar, and I just keep this in our pantry, and I have it ready to go whenever I need oat flour. So the next ingredient is going to be what I like to call pecan flour. I think you can buy pecan flour in some fancy stores, but you really don't need to. Literally just take some raw pecan halves, just like these ones I got from Trader Joe's, and throw them in a blender and blend them until they're kind of a little bit of a powder. There is a delicate intricacy to this because you can turn it into pecan butter very easily, which is also really freaking tasty and kind of not a good thing to have because you just want to eat the whole thing. But you just want to get it into a fine powder. It doesn't need to be super like flour, but it's just kind of a fine, little fine pieces of pecans. Now, the next ingredient is a whole wheat flour, but it's a white whole wheat flour that we like from King Arthur. This is just our favorite one that we like. Brian picked this up, and it just works really well. I tried to do the recipe without this flour. You're only going to use a 1/4 cup of it, so it's not crazy amount. But without this flour, which you can do it without this flour, it's just going to be that kind of like more dense, not gluey, but like, it's not really going to have as much structure to it as a muffin per se. So I do recommend adding this if you feel like this is an ingredient that you can add. If not, leave it out, see how it turns out, go for it. Also, you're going to need some cinnamon, baking soda, and this is my favorite ingredient right here. This is 1 cup of pureed butternut squash. So you literally just want to take a butternut squash and puree it, bake it, and puree it. We actually did a video all about different ways to prep butternut squash, and you may remember seeing this exact puree because it's actually the exact puree we made in that video. And it literally just adds such a like buttery, nutty, sweet kind of flavor because it's a butternut squash, to it. And it really, really, really works well in baking, I find. The next ingredient is just going to be some date paste, which is just dates and water blended up. Then we're going to add some lemon juice. I like to do freshly squeezed lemon juice. So we're going to do that. And a little bit of vanilla, of course. And some raisins to add a little bit more sweetness in there. They add a little, nice little texture to the muffins as well. And then the final thing you're going to need is just some pecan halves. So you want to save some of the halves and not make them into your flour. So you can just place them on top of the muffins, and they just look super, super pretty. Also, you're going to need something to bake these in, right? So baking muffins without, greasing a muffin tin or anything like that, or using those liners that like end up peeling off half the muffin because it sticks to it, you're going to want a silicone muffin pan. So I have 2 different ones. I have one that has the big muffin things, and this recipe will make about 6 of these. So I made it a smaller batch for this recipe because when I make this kind of stuff, I don't like having a lot of it around because I just want to eat it all. You can also do this You can also do this mini muffin which is a silicone one. And this, it'll fill almost all of this, like probably about 20 of them. And you'll just have these little bites that you can eat, and that's really great, especially for kids and stuff. It's like super fun, and like Peef obviously loves this one. But for today's recipe, I'm going to use this one, and like I said, it's a silicone thing, so it's like squishy, so you can squish the muffins out. But this is a Trudeau one, which has like a nice wire kind of frame to it, so it's gonna hold up to that structure and get your muffins all cooked and beautiful and easy to pop out. So with that being said, let's make some muffins. All right, so to put our muffins together, we're gonna start with the dry ingredients. We're gonna start with the oat flour. And then we're going to add the pecan flour. Now the pecan flour, you can see, is not really flour. It's more just like really finely ground up. But if there's a few chunks, it's okay. They'll just be like nice little chunks of pecan in your muffins. And then we are going to add in the whole wheat flour, or I have like a white whole wheat flour like I showed you earlier. Add that in. Then we're gonna do a little bit of, well, a kind of a lot of cinnamon. Get 2 teaspoons of that going on in there. All of the ingredient amounts here will be in the blog post. You can print it out from our website. Just go to the link in the description below. Up next, we're gonna add a teaspoon of baking soda. And now we're just gonna give it a quick little whisk. You might notice a few little clumps forming. That's just your kind of pecans that turned into pecan butter. Totally fine. It'll all be good in the end. Okay, up next we're gonna add some wet ingredients. So we're gonna start out with that gorgeous butternut squash puree and put all of that in there. Again, if you guys didn't watch the butternut squash video we did, check that out to see how I got this beautiful puree going on. It really just is the highlighted ingredient in this recipe. All right, now we're gonna add our homemade date paste in there. It's got like a 1/4 cup of that. This just gives it a nice little bit of sweetness. All right, now we have some freshly squeezed lemon juice. We're gonna add a tablespoon of that in there. I was a little short. I'll give it a little extra there. And a little bit of vanilla always does good in a muffin. So we're gonna do a teaspoon of vanilla. So then you're just gonna give it all a nice little stir so it's all incorporated. All right, last we're going to throw in some raisins. Just make sure you kind of break these up because these guys like to stick together. So we're just gonna kind of break them up, throw them in there, and give it one last little stir. All right, and now we are ready to put it into the baking trays. All right, at this point, you can turn over your spatula to your taste testing assistant for a little bit of a taste. And I'm going to use a cookie scoop to scoop this into my muffin tray. Now, like I said earlier, this only makes about 6 of the regular size muffins. So I'm just gonna kind of like catty corner them just so it kind of like evenly distributes them and they look all pretty and nice, but you can really do whatever you want. You can also double it if you wanna fill up this whole thing. You're gonna do about 2 scoops, like flat, kind of like that, kind of actual scoops of, the batter into each of the muffin tins. So I'm gonna do 1 there. I'm only gonna put 1 in to start with. This is so much easier than trying to do this with a spoon. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get my spatula back. Ew. And clean it off because Brian licked it. And then I'm gonna kind of like flatten this down just a little bit. And this is just because it's not really like a spreading kind of batter. And with these little silicone baking molds, sometimes you can get it where it's not really wanting to like bake like out all the way, and you'll end up with like not filling the entire cup. So I just like to go around and do this really quick just for presentation's sake, and it really does help out. So I'm gonna do that to each of these. And you can also give it like a little tap kind of thing, but you know, whatever floats your boat. Now you're gonna go in with another scoop on top of each one. And now we've reached the point in the video where I don't have enough batter to actually make 6 like I promised. So we're gonna kind of beg, borrow, and steal here a little bit till we get them even. I could have done a better job of that, but you know. But such is life. This is like real world baking here. This is not like, you know, Instagram, Pinterest, I don't know. Yeah. Can I have a knife, please? Thanks. So I'm just gonna sort of divvy and take a little bit from each and add it to this poor sad little one here. I must have been a little too generous with my scoops. Whoops. All right, when they have become as even as you can get them, then you're gonna wanna press down once again just to make sure it really fills out that little muffin tin. Okay, so now that we have all our muffins ready to go, we're gonna put this in the oven at 350 and bake it for about 25-30 minutes. Just kind of keep an eye on it and see when you think they're kind of done. It's kind of hard to tell, but they will puff up a little bit and they will look beautiful and taste super delicious. So let's go on to the oven. And my assistant has just informed me that I forgot to do this. So you're actually gonna add a pecan half to the top of each muffin. And that's just gonna, you know, bring it home on that presentation. Because these are butternut pecan muffins after all. There we go. Now let's get to the oven. Okay, these have been cooling for a while after the oven, and you literally can just push up on the bottom and they pop right out. There's no resistance or anything like that with this pan. So you just want to do that, line them up on a little cooling rack and let them cool down completely. So there you have it, muffins. There's one missing.
Yeah, I know.
Are you ready to try the muffins?
Yes, I'm ready
to
try them for the first time.
The first time today.
Which one are we going for? Are we going for this one?
Let's leave that one because it looks it's
so
like
pretty.
all, you know, gourmet. I just did a photo shoot,
Okay.
and, you know.
Okay, then I want that one.
This one?
That one.
Okay. You want to split it?
Split.
I'll split it. You pick.
Well, I mean, I would probably pick the pecan side just because I like the pecans there.
All right, so we're going to try some muffins. I mean,
it's so good.
Describe the
it's got
complexities of it to them.
It is soft and tender. It is moist. It is mildly sweet. And it has crunchy bits on the top that totally make it just amazing. Like this is, I'm not joking. Every single time she's made these, it is tough to not just eat the entire batch in one go.
That's why we make a small batch.
That's why we make a small batch. But we have had them last, like 6 of these have lasted for a couple of days.
Oh yeah, the last time I made them, I think I went on like the 4th day or something, like 4th or 5th day after I made them, and they were so good.
And they weren't even refrigerated.
No, yeah,
Just in a bag sitting on.
You could refrigerate them, definitely
organizer.
make them last longer. You could definitely freeze them, and I'm sure they would freeze great. But yeah.
They go great with fruit. I've had them, like I've eaten them with a banana, and it's been fantastic. I had it with some applesauce on it as well. That was fantastic. All around, I mean, they're just amazing muffins. Like, just top-notch muffins.
Thank you.
I told her when she made them, she's like, you did an amazing job with these. So, yeah, great job.
I'm going to take one more bite.
Should we do the close?
Sure.
I'll do the close. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and click the bell that is right next to it so you get notified whenever we post a new video. You can also find us on social media, including Facebook and Instagram. You can message us on there, and we will gladly interact with anybody who does so. Give the video a good old like, and give it a share out to the rest of the world so everyone else can enjoy beautiful muffins from Jessica's brain. Right? That's just how it goes. But I think that's all I got.
That's definitely all I got.
We will see you next time on Crocs in the Kitchen. Bye. You know, weirdly enough, I do know the Muffin Man.